Denis O'Brien, the Irish billionaire founder and chair of mobile phone network and entertainment provider Digicel, has once again added his voice in support of the Caribbean's reparations movement. O'Brien met with the CARICOM Reparations Commission last week, where he delivered a proposal that he believes would assist the region's quest for reparations from former colonial powers for the genocide of the Caribbean's native inhabitants and the trafficking of enslaved Africans to the region to provide forced labor. The proposal, called Repair, contains specific 5-year objectives and includes a plan for money to flow into the region on an annual basis. CARICOM says O'Brien's recently presented proposal aligns with the Reparations Commission's 10-point reparatory justice plan. CARICOM's plan includes a formal apology, the repatriation of African descendants who wish to return to the motherland, and rehabilitation for survivors of colonization, which refers to a development program for indigenous peoples to assist those traumatized by colonialism. Other action items for reparatory justice include consideration for the public health crisis in the Caribbean, the skyrocketing incidence of chronic diseases that stem from what the plan calls the poor nutritional legacy, emotional brutality, and overall intense stress of slavery, genocide, and apartheid. Former colonizing nations such as Britain, France, Spain, and the Netherlands, some of which still rule over islands in the region, are also being called on to construct cultural institutions, pay for programs to eradicate illiteracy, contribute to the development of an African knowledge program, conduct technology transfer, and cancel the debts of their former colonies. The reparatory justice plan was crafted as a regional economic and social development strategy and is supported by the Digicel chief, who agrees with the CARICOM Reparations Committee that Europe owes the Caribbean for the wealth it currently enjoys, much of which was extracted from this region via the whips and chains of the planters, along with the cannon and swords of the colonizing states. O'Brien says his repair proposal could bear fruits for investment in the region's agriculture, health, and education sectors, which can be the Caribbean's pathway to recovery from the brunt of international economic crises. O'Brien wants his proposal to further energize the push for reparations through public relations drives in Europe, the UK, and CARICOM countries, using traditional platforms as well as social media to create public awareness and buy-in. The CRC and O'Brien say they will develop the proposal further over the next few months. Digicel's chair has spoken previously in support of the CRC's mission to elicit reparatory justice from former and current colonizing nations. In July, as the keynote speaker of the 2022 conference of CANTO, an association of ICT sector players with regional interests, O'Brien spoke about his repair plan, which was at the time in its fledgling stages.
I would like to mention a project that I'm personally involved in. For the last 20 years, I have a strong personal commitment to the Caribbean and to its people. When I meet prime ministers and ministers, there is always a deep-seated resentment about slavery. This has led me to personally start a new initiative to create a campaign for reparations for the Caribbean. The working title of this campaign is the Repair Campaign. The CARICOM 10-point plan for reparatory justice is a really good starting point. Apart from these appalling injustices, Caribbean nations were given their independence, but left with the vault empty with no financial, social, or investment resources. This is why many Caribbean nations are so indebted. Independence came with an empty cupboard. Former British slave owners in Jamaica were paid $19 billion between 1838 and 2015. All the wonderful buildings, infrastructure, and great universities you see in Great Britain today were built on the back of slavery. The same in Belgium, the same in France, the same in Holland, and mostly Germany as well. It's, in my mind, reprehensible. The European Union, because most of the slave countries came from the European Union, and of course Great Britain, need to fess up to what has happened. It starts with an apology which still, after hundreds of years, has not been forthcoming. They are going to be asked to create an investment funding arrangement for each of the countries in the Caribbean affected by slavery to grant aid and major projects in education, health, agriculture, fisheries, and economic development. And that funding should come in over 25 years. An economic study will shortly be underway to determine the allocation of these funds for each of the countries that have been affected. In furtherance of this objective, and this is not a solo run, I'm consulting with 3 prime ministers in the region, and I have their support for this, and we've also assembled the campaign team in London.
O'Brien also called for the University of the West Indies to establish a team of regional economists who would determine what a CRC proposed Marshall Plan-style reparations should entail. In 2020, Barbadian Prime Minister Mia Mottley called for Marshall Plan-style reparations, referencing the 1948 policy that provided aid to Western Europe following the devastation of World War II, named after then-serving U.S. Secretary of State George Marshall.